you will absolutely 100% pay in full for everything that you've done and for everything that you haven't done. You know, and I'm going to write a chapter soon on the book of Job, and it's a very interesting book, because what happens in that book is that it's really a shocking book. What happens is that God has a bet with Satan, which is, you know, a little ethically questionable, let's say.
Yeah, this would be a good time for a DraftKings ad, too. I'm just joking, but that'd be funny.
Job's a good guy.
Uh-huh.
And Satan gets word of him, and he knows God's happy with him, and he goes to God, and he says, you know, Job, you know that guy you think so great? I don't think he's so great. I think if you let me torture him, I can make him denounce you and lose faith. And God says, I don't think so. He's yours. And, you know, people in their lives, you know, sometimes they'll enter a period where all hell is breaking loose and everything seems to be conspiring against them. So these things happen. And so Job, it's like, first of all, his whole family's destroyed, then everything he owns. So that's act one. Then Satan curses him with a terrible skin disease.
Yeah, that's tough.
Right.
Tough,
and then he has to sit in the ashes, scraping himself. And then his friends come along and tell him that he must have done something wrong because otherwise the universe wouldn't be conspiring against him. So that's about as bad as it gets, right?
Yeah.
Right. And then God himself comes along and says, who are you to complain about your fate? Right. Now, if you don't think that's going to happen to you in your life, you're not very smart, because that is going to happen to you in your life. So then the question is, what the hell should you do about it? And one answer would be, well, that sucks. It's God and Satan against you. You know, you're kind of outmatched. It's completely unfair because you were good and everything that you valued is taken away from you. So what should you do? You know, would you shake your fist at the sky and raise a middle finger and say, fuck you? You know, like now I'm on the side of Cain and the devils, and I'm going to be resentful and bitter. And people might look and think, well, it's no wonder you're resentful and bitter. Like you lost your whole family. You have a terrible disease. Your friends are laughing at you. Right. So you have every reason. That isn't what happens in the story. Job decides that no matter what happens to him, and he means that, no matter what happens to him, he's going to maintain his ethical orientation and aim up. And I think that's, but then you think, look, man, forget about the religious trappings. Here's hell. Hell is when you get cancer. And then you're bitter and resentful about it, and you make your last 6 months a living fucking nightmare. Right, and so you might say, well, you've got cancer, and that sucks, and no doubt it sucks, and maybe it's unfair, and probably it is, and maybe even, you know, God and Satan themselves bet against you. You're going to aim up and maintain your dignity and your integrity, or are you going to take a bad situation and make it into every goddamn nightmare you can possibly imagine? Think, well, of course you have to aim up no matter what happens to you. And you think, well, that's not fair. It's like, well, it's better than the alternative.
Yeah.
And what does fair have to do with it? What's your choice? You're going to dig a deeper pit? Or are you going to have some integrity in the face of life's catastrophe? You know, and I think we know the answer to that, because when you meet people who have integrity in the face of catastrophe, you're struck with admiration for them.
Yeah.
Right. So that's your heart speaking, man. It's like, I don't know how you do it, but, you know, I can't help but
be in awe.
I know I have a friend, a very well-known Canadian.